Major news organizations, activists, and politicians are taking a statement from Donald Trump out of context to make it seem like he is attacking undocumented immigrants. The New York Times, NBC, C-SPAN, the Associated Press, and many more news outlets. Why do they do this? Do they really feel that by lying or being intellectually dishonest, they're going to convince people that Trump is bad? Perhaps it works on many people who don't really pay attention to the news. But what was Trump really talking about when he was referring to animals being kicked out of this country? Before we get started, make sure you head over to patreon.com/TimCast and click Become a Patron. There are many different tiers to choose from. Most notably at Tier 1, you get access to behind-the-scenes photos and videos, bonus commentary videos when available, so please consider supporting my work by becoming a patron today. Our first tweet from the New York Times, it says, Trump lashed out at undocumented immigrants during a White House meeting, calling those trying to breach the country's borders animals. And the quote is, "You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people, these are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before." This is technically incorrect. Trump is referring to gangs, specifically MS-13, which, yes, you could say are undocumented immigrants, but this makes it seem like the statement was about everybody. But let's move on. NBC News, with basically the same statement this morning, while railing against California for its so-called sanctuary immigration policies, President Trump referred to some people who cross the border illegally as animals, drawing a sharp rebuke from Democratic leaders. Yes, those some people he's referring to are international drug cartel members. Now, C-SPAN wasn't so bad. They said, President Trump during California Sanctuary Cities Roundtable. These aren't people, these are animals. However, this still kind of makes it seem like Trump is talking about your run-of-the-mill undocumented immigrant. So what was Trump really talking about? Well, if you haven't been paying attention, he was talking about the international drug cartel MS-13. He's repeatedly referred to them as animals in the past. The story from Vox. The headline, Trump on deported immigrants. They're not people, they're animals. No, he was referring to MS-13 because he's referred to MS-13 this way in the past. But then they say, whether President Trump was referring to MS-13 gang members or all deportees is unclear, but he didn't exactly hasten to clarify. President Donald Trump referred to some people deported from the United States as animals during a roundtable discussion with California sheriffs on Wednesday. It's the latest in a series of statements stretching Trump's entire national political career that carelessly conflate immigration, criminality, and violence. And here we have the transcript. Before he made his statement, Sheriff Mims said, "Thank you. There could be an MS-13 member I know about. If they don't reach a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about it." To which Trump responded, "We have people coming into the country or trying to come in, and we're stopping a lot of them, but we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are. These aren't people, these are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before. And because of the weak laws, they come in fast. We get them, we release them, we get them again, we bring them out. It's crazy." Vox then says, it's not clear who the president was referring to, whether he was simply picking up on Sheriff Mims' reference to MS-13 gang members or referring to deportees more broadly. But the president didn't exactly bend over backward to specify that not all immigrants deported by this administration are animals. Let me just point out they're using the not all immigrants argument, of which the left often says you don't need to point out that not every member of a group is bad, not all men, not all white people, things like that. Does Trump really need to say not all immigrants? I think the entire argument is a bit silly. But I also think if you're being intellectually honest, they were talking about criminal gangs. And not necessarily even MS-13, but there are many other criminal cartels and drug cartels that are trying to come into the United States that do horrific things. In fact, Vox does concede Trump has used the term animals to refer to members of MS-13 before. In a July 2017 speech to law enforcement officers on Long Island, he said few communities have suffered worse at the hand of these MS-13 thugs than the people of Long Island. They have transformed peaceful parks and beautiful quiet neighborhoods into blood-stained killing fields. They are animals. In February at the Conservative Political Action Committee, he said, these are animals. They cut people, they cut them up into little pieces, and they want them to suffer, and we take them into our country. Why the intellectual dishonesty? Do they really think this will convince people not to like Trump, or are they just so ideologically driven they can't take themselves to admit that Trump was actually referring to criminals? And then in comes the politicking. Politicians and activists who are trying to be intellectually dishonest or actually defend the actions of MS-13. John Harwood, who covers the economy and national politics for CNBC, tweeted, "However repugnant their actions, MS-13 gang members are human beings in my honest opinion." Another person said, "F that S. Why do you fold to the president's preferred framing? His MS-13 references are racist dog whistles in and of themselves. Do better, AP." And there are many, many more examples of individuals actually defending MS-13 and trying to play it up like Trump was somehow being racist or that he needs to be criticized for these statements. And yes, of course, MS-13 are human beings, but Trump isn't speaking literally. He's making a statement. He is actually insulting these people. Chuck Schumer wasted no time to try and earn some political points when he said, "When all of our great-great-grandparents came to America, they weren't animals, and these people aren't either." Never thought I would see the day when politicians and activists would actually defend international drug cartels and criminal gangs for the sake of earning political points against the president. You know, I can say it over and over again. I don't think Trump's all that great. I'm not a big fan of him, and I've criticized him often, and I'm not going to get into that game of doing the, let me criticize the president now for the sake of appearing like I'm balanced. Let's just call out these people that are playing a sick game let's call it what it is. Intellectual dishonesty. Trump wasn't referring to our great-great-grandparents who came over and went to Ellis Island and signed the paperwork and joined this country. He wasn't talking about people who came here before the formation of the United States. He's specifically talking about criminal gangs that want to break laws, who hurt people. And some of the ways they hurt people are very terrifying. Don't take my word for it. Just Google search MS-13 and go look on Wikipedia for their list of publicized crimes, and you might actually start to agree with the president. Conservative columnist Bethany S. Mandel said, "Watching this dishonesty about the MS-13 gang quote is disturbing. It's not how you'll get rid of Trump, it's how you'll get more." And this is what strikes me as strange. Trump won. He won for a reason. A lot of people say that's because there's too many elitist liberals who act like they know better than everyone else. A lot of people say it's because people don't trust the media as much anymore. Trump supporters repeatedly go on about the fake news. Trump would have rallies and he would talk about the fake news. So when you can actually read the transcript where the sheriff brings up MS-13 and then Trump, for the fifth or whatever time, refers to this gang as animals, you know. If you're someone who follows Trump and listens to what he says, you know he's talking about MS-13 because he's done it in the past. So what is the goal? Why does the New York Times, why does C-SPAN, why does NBC, why does the AP, why do all of these outlets try and act like Trump was talking about all undocumented immigrants? They did the same thing during the campaign, and the problem is, all this will do is make Trump supporters double down on their support for him because you are lying. And at the very least, you are just ridiculously bad at your jobs. The creator of Minecraft, Notch, he tweeted out, "By now, they only keep it up to avoid having to admit they lie about everything. Like how Nolan Bushnell was denied a Lifetime Achievement Award over things that literally never happened. Still no award. No retraction, just doubling down on lies." This tweet from Notch has nothing to do with the president, but it has everything to do with the lying media. Notch, the creator of Minecraft, is talking about how they lie all the time. They just double down. They've created this narrative out of a mix of lies, and then all of these journalists working at these outlets just believe it. In response to this tweet, a Twitter user said, "Are you saying that there is dishonesty and pettiness in the media?" To which Notch responded, "No, I am saying there's evil." And he's right. There is. At least at the companies I've worked at least in the meetings I have had with journalists in New York City. There was a time where I would regularly grab drinks with some well-known New York journalists. And the things that would come out of their mouths made me never want to work at any of these companies. So there's a reason I ended up going to Vice. There's a reason I ended up going to Fusion. These were newer companies. Vice, yes, has been around for a really long time, but what they were doing was relatively new, and I was working in my own team. Fusion was entirely new. I wanted to go somewhere where I would get away from these kinds of people, but you know what? You can't do it. There are people, not most people, not everybody, but there is enough, and they hold power, and they are ideologically driven, and they understand they're lying, and they either refuse to acknowledge it because they're so egotistical that they want everyone to live the way they think they should live, or they really do know they're lying. Take a hard look at many of the videos put out by these digital outlets, and you will see the dishonesty, and I've talked about it. To give you one example, just real quick, Mike.com editing a video where a young woman at a Trump rally punched an old man in the face to make it seem like she was just pepper sprayed. They edited out the punch so you couldn't see her do it. That is on purpose. There's literally no reason to make the screen flash white so that you couldn't see or punch somebody. It all happened within a few seconds. This stuff actually does happen. Now, why they're lying about Trump? Many of these people could just be lazy, underpaid grunts who, they see the quote and they say, oh, wow, interesting. Many of them just listen to what their friends say. So someone leans over and says, hey, you hear Trump talk about immigrants? And they go, oh, is that what happened? And they type up the tweet, send it out. Because the reality is we have a huge problem in media. We have people who sit around, don't actually do any work, and don't even know the definitions of words because they are so incompetent and lazy they don't care. Or they just want to make money and get those clicks. Many companies sell ad space up front. That means a digital media outlet might guarantee to an ad network 1 million views, and they have to hit that number. So it's a very simple process. If they're coming to a point where they know they won't reach their goal and they're going to piss off and fail to deliver, they can put out extremely dishonest fake news that will go viral to get them the hits they need and then just wait a couple hours and issue an apology retraction on a separate piece because they've already got the traffic. So let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel about these major news outlets trying to make it seem like Trump is talking about every single immigrant when he criticizes MS-13? And what do you think about MS-13? Again, comment below. We'll keep the conversation going. Stay tuned. New videos every day at 4 p.m. You can follow me on Twitter at TimCast. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.